Welcome to another episode of Chad Sports Talk. You don't know, my name is Chad. Take a dive into sports. And this is a continuation of the latest carousel, domino, whatever you want to talk about with college realignment. We all know by now USC and UCLA is shocked the college football world, has now moved their operations to the Big Ten. And there are still other things floating out there. Oregon and Washington also reached out to the Big Ten to join. The Big Ten kind of went, no, wait a minute. They're waiting on Notre Dame. Notre Dame seriously considering it, but they have yet to say what they're going to do. There's rumors out there that they're going to not join. There's rumors that they're going to go join the ACC, which is terrible. Or they just remain independent and keep the $15 million contract they got with NBC, and then when they renegotiate that deal, they'll probably get more money and keep all that money to themselves. But then it kind of grows into, what about the college football playoff? When that contract expires, what happens after that? So there's so many different intricate webs and different lanes, and it's like one of those choose your adventure books where you pick the wrong choice and you end up dying in a pit full of, pit vipers. But, let's kind of go over some of the scenarios to kind of look at this. But before I get into all that mess, if you could go ahead and smash that thumbs up for me, especially like the content to provide you really places YouTube guides. You can also subscribe. A lot of you guys review my work. I love you all for doing that. Now, many of you subscribe because you a dime helps me provide more entertainment value for you. Now, looking some of these television contracts, a lot of them are starting to expire, which is why you're seeing a lot of these movements happening. The Big 12 expires at the end of 25. That's why Oklahoma and Texas can't leave till then. The Pac-12 is at 24. That's when USC and UCLA will move. The Big 10's at the end of 23. Now they're trying to get all these teams in there to really negotiate their contract to get more money, because right now they're looking at $31.4 million per team right now in the current deal. If they can add, like Notre Dame, Stanford, Oregon, and Washington, along with USC and UCLA, this 20-team format, they can get somewhere close to $100 million per team. That's a lot of cheddar. But then you look at the SEC, and their runs at the 24. And right now they're sitting at 44 mil, and once they get that new contract signed, because they already know they got Oklahoma and Texas coming in, they can actually increase that payout as well to go to that $100 million mark. Or maybe when they redo these contract deals, is that they ensure the power schools get a little bit bigger slice of the pie than some of the cannon fodder schools. So maybe, like Michigan would get more money than Northwestern because of the quality of, or what they bring to the table in terms of the conference, especially for football. And I can see that aspect, as long as the disparity between the haves and the has-nots within the conferences are not exuberant. You don't give like $150 million to Michigan, but only $50 million to Northwestern. As long as it's somewhat close by, like 125, 75, I don't think you'll see too much squabbling that way. No, everyone still has a decent sized money to really help them out and all that stuff. But that kind of, struck out the point, because I was looking at all the other ones, because I got my notes right here, so that's why I keep looking down. That the ACC's contract expired to 2036. So any team leaving ACC right now will be a death sentence for them financially. So no team's going to look at the leave now, even though there's rumors of Miami, Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson all trying to bail to either go SEC or Big Ten. But they can't. And we all love these dream scenarios where these schools, start moving around and all that stuff, and then, make all these videos, because, I've had a couple myself already with dealing with this. But I don't see these schools leaving anytime soon. I know their main thing is trying to keep Notre Dame in conference. That's why they have the contract signed with them. All of their sports, besides hockey, is in the ACC. They're tied to them to 2036, but Notre Dame can break that contract because they have enough money to do that. Even though I've had comments and other things floating around, if enough schools in the ACC determined to try to void that contract, they have to have like a super majority to do that. I don't see that because ACC schools love where they play. They love the ACC, and the ACC is a nice, close-knit family, it seems like, and this is something you don't see much anymore. But they don't like the money. Right now, they only get right now 17 mil per school, so they'll definitely need to renegotiate some type of contract, and the only way to do that is to attract big-time schools into the ACC. In order to do that, there's not many big fish out there besides Notre Dame. So Notre Dame finds themselves in a very unique situation where three conferences are really kind of begging for them. SEC I throw in there, but Notre Dame's not going to go with SEC. We can't beat the SEC. I'm sorry. I'm an Irish fan, and I know that. There'll be a mid-tier SEC team, and they don't have any rivalries in there, except for maybe LSU now, and possibly in Alabama. But beyond that, they have no history with any of the current SEC schools. I mean, they got a little bit with Texas and Oklahoma because their home and away series they do every so often. They have more rivals in the Big Ten now, with the addition of USC. If Notre Dame joins the Big Ten will probably end up grabbing Stanford to help out Notre Dame. That gives them all the rivals pretty much in conference, and then probably grab Oregon and Washington. But, that's another thing. And then you look at the Big 12, and they're looking at not sitting on their hands while this whole thing's happening and sniffing the Pac-12's dying carcass, and looking to try to grab Arizona State, Utah, Colorado, and possibly two others, more than likely Oregon and Washington, which would just completely decimate the Pac-12 and relegate them to the Mountain West. More than likely. But, there's other factors coming in. So, it's really hard to determine how these things go because things can change. Sources may be getting false leads. They kind of drum up the drama in the college football, college realignment, that make people like me create these videos and come up with these wacky scenarios, what could possibly happen, like I did with my SEC going to 20 to match the Big Ten. And a lot of you guys started to push back on that one about Kansas State, and I already said that was probably controversial and probably wouldn't happen anyways. And I agree. I mean, Kansas going into the SEC makes no damn sense. Of course, there does USC and UCLA go in the Big Ten, or Maryland Rutgers in the Big Ten, or Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M in the SEC. This is the nature of college sports now. Geography means nothing. Traditional rivals mean nothing. It's all about where you're going to go to get paid. That's what college athletics has turned into, especially college football. It's wherever you get the biggest money, biggest payout, which will help the rest of your athletic programs. Regardless if Ole Miss wins the College World Series, regardless if, Northern Michigan wins the Frozen Four, or, UCLA wins a softball championship, or UC Santa Barbara is your volleyball champion. It doesn't matter about those sports. It matters what happens on the gridiron, and then secondly, what happens on the hard court for basketball. Those are your two biggest money makers right there. This is what drives college alliances and conferences. And that's why the conferences were formed in the first place, because you like-minded schools in certain areas will stick together, create those traditional rivalries, and then expand from there regionally. But now, it doesn't happen. You'll see, series get broken up. It's like they need to the backyard brawl between West Virginia used to be an annual matchup. Not anymore. Notre Dame's annual matchup with Purdue, Michigan State used to be a big draw. Doesn't happen anymore. Missouri, Kansas. No. Soon, Bedlam will be a thing of the past. Much like Texas A&M was. Now that it's going to come back. So, these are things you got to kind of look at with dealing with college realignment is rivalries mean nothing. It's all about who could bring what to the table. So the rumors of Notre Dame turning down the Big Ten, right now I think it's just rumors. It's probably more likely than not. But for Notre Dame, I think if they turn down the Big Ten, they're not going to anyone. They're not even going to the ACC. They will remain independent, rework that contract at NBC, get $45 million. But it also depends on what happens with the college football playoff, because that's set to expire in 26. And do they ensure that the only 4 conference champions are what's left? And they go, okay, your 4 conference champions are in. And that happens. Notre Dame sitting outside looking in, going, what do we do? Because now we're regulated down to the next level below. So Notre Dame's got to look at the writing on the wall. Does the college football playoff kind of dictate where they go? And I think it does. Now, from a rivalry standpoint, the Big Ten makes the best sense, period, dot. I mean, like I said before, they had the rivalry with Michigan State, Purdue. You can throw in Northwestern, Ohio State, Penn State, USC now. And if they join, I'm sure the Big Ten will then go grab Stanford for them. And then, even up to 20, grab Oregon and Washington. You have a full slate of schools out there on the West Coast. And you create your pod or your subdivision, how you want to call it. And for me, that makes the most sense. That's the only way I think that, this can actually transpire and be highly successful. Then it kind of burns down to what happens next. Is right now there's a alliance between the Pac-12 and ACC. We all know what the alliance means because the Pac-12, Big Ten, ACC formed one. And look what the Big Ten did in stabbing the Pac-12 in the back. So, just get with the scenario I have with the Big Ten when they add, Notre Dame, Oregon, Stanford, and Washington. SEC, I think, is going to stay in pats because they're going to just rely on their powerhouses of, the big name draws of Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, A&M, Florida. You know the story. They're going to rely on them and not really go anywhere else. Because I think their main goal is probably going after the ACC once their contract expires. But it all depends if the ACC can rework their contract to get more money. So, especially if they redo the college football playoff where only the big 4, I said that, the big 4 all get a slot, and they kind of do like a mini playoff within their conference, kind of like what FCS does right now with a regional-based playoff system. So, looking at that, and I think the ACC is going to look at a way to try to become more relevant and be highly aggressive themselves, and then they start going the warpath as much as the Big 12 is trying to go on the warpath, but the ACC comes in and just knocks the Big 12 down. Well, you kind of see where this is kind of go here in a minute. And with that being said, I think the ACC should swoop in and try to sway Cincinnati and Houston to not join the Big 12 and come join the ACC. Which I understand Houston be a huge stretch for them, but more on that here, why I say Houston in a minute. Cincinnati right now, as I'm looking at my notes, as the 40-plus win in the past 5 years. Houston's a 30-plus win, plus you get the huge market right there in H-Town. So now you have Miami, Boston, Atlanta. I mean, you get the Raleigh-Durham area, a little bit of Charlotte. Pittsburgh, Louisville. So you get some major markets floating around there, and you add in H-Town, which gives you a huge market that's better than what you already have. Then you bring in Cincinnati as well. Then you bring the Battle of Cake and Nails as a conference game, which would be great for both those programs. Then definitely West Virginia, because it makes most sense regionally because of the rivalries with Pitt, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, BC, Miami, Louisville. So it makes sense in that aspect. And then Oklahoma State. The Cowboys look at how they got shunned by the Sooners. But if Oklahoma State ends up going to the ACC, now you make Bedlam in the year matchup, like it's always been part of the ACC SEC clash in the last week of the season, like you Florida State, Georgia Tech, Clemson, South Carolina, Louisville, Kentucky. Now you can throw in Oklahoma State. And then I would also bring in, they kind of make things interesting, Baylor and Kansas. Now, Kansas is not a football powerhouse. They're bringing basketball to the ACC and make the ACC the top basketball conference in the nation. We will have Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, Virginia, Syracuse, Louisville. Cincinnati is a good basketball. Miami is up and up. Baylor just won national titles, so if you look at that conglomerate of basketball powerhouses in the ACC, I think it could actually, play out. And everyone's like saying, why would you put Kansas in there without? It doesn't make any sense. Like I said, it's college football. It doesn't make any sense anymore. Geography means absolutely nothing. It's all about what they can bring. I know Kansas football doesn't bring anything. They get a little bit of that Kansas City market. And that's what they were trying to, pitch towards the Big Ten. It's like, hey, we have Kansas City. So that's what they're going to tap into. And they could probably put tournament games up there in KC and their, that's what, the T-Mobile Center. It was built to attract professional teams that haven't yet to get one. I mean, you know what I mean. There's just so many different scenarios that could play out, and then that would really hamper the Big 12, and then it merging with the Pac-12, and bring in Boise State, San Diego State, and Memphis, kind of round that off, and you create two 20-team conferences, two 16-team conference, and then from in there, you create a playoff system where you kind of do like 4 pods or 4 subdivisions, how you want to put it. I just say, okay, there's 4 divisions, East, West, North, and South. Just make it simple that way. Plug your teams in there. You take each division the winner, go into a playoff, determine your conference champion. Then 4 conference champions play in the playoffs. And that determines your national champion. Now, does that deter away from 2 SEC schools in the playoff? Yes. Because they have to beat each other up to get in there. Does this mean that the SEC will still will not be able to rule the roost? No, SEC right now I think is still the best conference in football right now. And adding Oklahoma and Texas just makes them a little bit better. The Big Ten adding, the UCLA and USC gives them more of a national focus and bringing those huge markets in there. But what they do on the field against the opportunities it provided, it really depends what they do. And right now the Big Ten versus SEC is the advantage SEC. So they have to get better in terms of taking on those type of programs to have any much success. Like I said, I think Division 1 is going to get broken up in 3. Technically it's already 3 now, so I'll go 4. I want to say 3 now because you have the FBS, FCS, and you have abstainers. But now you want to say, okay, now you have, party called the CFP because there's going to be more playoffs than anything else. Then you do FBS, which is going to be your group of 5, now group of 4 schools, your FCS and your abstainers. But, Who knows how this is going to go? This whole realignment scenario could change as soon as I get this video posted. It can just turn around and revert back that Notre Dame is joining the Big Ten, or it could go, nope, Notre Dame staying independent and it's telling everyone else to bugger off. Or it's going to say that Notre Dame is going to join the ACC and they're bringing over West Virginia and they're raiding more schools out of the Big 12. Who knows? I mean, there's just so many different ways this can go and this can play out, and it's hard to really determine which way it's going to go. And you just kind of have to go with the punches, and it's just us looking for content, looking to try to come up with scenarios and whatnot. And everything hinges on the Irish. The Irish are now made sure they're the focal point of national attention, because once that chip falls, you'll see a huge domino effect just ripple across the landscape. And I think it's just going to be a matter of time before Notre Dame makes that decision. I don't think they will put themselves out there too long. Maybe they're trying to get the ACC, SEC, and the Big Ten to kind of say, hey, what are you going to give me if I join? And it's I don't know. It's difficult to really pinpoint where this is going to go. I'm just going with what I think. Sometimes they come up with weird scenarios like Kansas State, and SEC. I got dropped on the head when I was a baby a few times. But seriously, it's a fluid situation. You don't know where it's going to go. Big Ten can just stay independent and buck the trend and try to fight their way, trying to get a special deal with the college football playoff to get in there. Stick with their ACC as their kind of a half partner, their side chick. But who knows? If I hear anything else, I'll make sure to get in front of this camera and provide you my 2 cents. And with current inflation rates, it's about 0.9 cents in total. And it's just this stuff you got to be fluid with. And I mean, like what my old job say, be like water. Water just will continue to go in one direction, and whichever obstacle is in the way, they go around it or they go over it. So it's just what you kind of have to kind of look at and pinpoint and make look at with a grain of salt, basically. But like I said, once I find anything else out, especially with Notre Dame, I mean, that's like the premier choice meat you're looking for when you come with a steak, and depends where they want to go. It really does. Hey, that's all the time I got for today. Just let me know in the comments down below what you think. What do you think about my latest ideas for realignment? Do you think the ACC will be this aggressive without Notre Dame? Do you think the ACC demise is imminent anyways because of how these contracts are going to go? Does Notre Dame save the ACC? I mean, there's so many questions down there. Just leave them down below. While you're there, you can also hit that thumbs up. You also subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell notification. Let you know next time I post a video. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.